Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, as the ties between India and Canada continue to worsen, the Tesla CEO Elon Musk has sent out a warning, a premonition that the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's time has come and he will have to step down after he loses the election in 2025. Elon Musk has also drawn attention to the downturn in Canada's real GDP per capita since Trudeau took over in November 2015. The real GDP per capita is a measure of a country's economic production per person. The reality in Canada is that it has a major housing crisis. The country's poverty rate has increased to 11.1%. As many as 8.7 million people are facing food shortage. Canada's unemployment rate has not budged in the past many years. Despite these concerning livelihood challenges, Justin Trudeau is more interested in achieving his political goals to stay in power amidst a spate of Khalistani attacks against Indians on the Canadian soil. He continues to pin blame on India for the death of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Nijjar, and his government has gone as far as to claim the Union Home Minister of India, Amit Shah's involvement in the same. The question that arises is, does this obsession with Khalistan come from a place of desperation for Justin Trudeau? In fact, the leader of opposition in Canada has also attacked the Justin Trudeau government. He's spoken about the spiraling crisis of debt. There is inflation that is an all-time high. There are no jobs. He's spoken about all that and more. Listen in.
GDP per capita than we did 5 years ago, the fastest shrinking economy in the G7 since the year before COVID. Now, why is this happening? Because we have an extreme ideology. I call it wackonomics. He's doubled the national debt in just 9 years, adding more debt than all prior prime ministers combined in 1 decade. Now, what does that mean for the economy of the present? Well, we've added $700 billion of new coins, bills, and bank deposits to our economy. That is a roughly 37% increase in our money supply, during which time our real economy grew by about 4%. So, money is growing almost 10 times faster than this.
Joining me on the telecast is Terry Malusi. He is the former senior correspondent, CBC, and author for Blood for Blood. He has and for 50 years of Global Khalistan Project. Thank you, Terry, for joining me on the telecast. And what do you make of the situation right now? Here it is, leader of opposition talking about inflation, talking about no jobs, economic crisis. The GDP per capita has slumped ever since Justin Trudeau came to power. Elon Musk has highlighted it, warned that Justin Trudeau is going to lose power, is going to have to step down come the 2025 elections.
Brilliant observation that Trudeau's political career is probably toast is not something that will strike any Canadian as particularly original, because they've been saying the same thing themselves for a year. Musk is simply repeating it. This isn't solely because of his economic policy or his economic failures, but rather because Canadians are just fed up with him. They're just the way they got fed up with, say, Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He lasted about 9 years. Prime Minister Chrétien, he lasted about 9 years. There seems to be a pattern. When you reach the point of being in power in Canada for a decade, people just get tired of you and they're ready for a change. And of course, what's happening now is, of course, Musk is doing exactly what Trump promised we would not do when he takes over in January, namely foreign wars. Let's be belligerent on the world stage. That's not what Trump promised, but this is what Musk is doing by taking aim at Trudeau. It's simply, Canadians are going to see this as a late shot and a cheap shot. And they'll go right ahead and vote him out of office anyway, which they plan to do without Elon Musk's advice.
Terry, do you think Elon Musk's statement now holds more water, keeping in mind that he is in all likelihood going to play a very important, significant role in the Trump administration?
I'm sorry, you broke up there. I didn't catch your question.
Does Elon Musk's statement that it comes it happened, he spoke about this just 2 days ago, and he's spoken about how it is imminent that Justin Trudeau's government is going to fall. He will have to step down from the prime ministership. Do you think his statements are going to be taken more seriously and going to have consequences? Because in all likelihood, he is going to be a significant, essential part of the Trump administration.
Well, there's no doubt that Musk is already proving that he is going to be a significant part of the administration. I mean, Musk is on the phone with Trump and Zelensky, of Russia, the President Zelensky of Russia. Of Ukraine. He's discussing the Ukraine invasion now. What does he know about that? It's bizarre, and I think this is one of the reasons why I said a moment ago that Canadians and maybe others around the world will rather discount Elon Musk's comments, because he may be very rich, but there's no evidence he knows anything about foreign policy. And if his foreign policy is to jump on the phone and discuss the worst land war in Europe since the Second World War, and with Trump, who's promised to end it in 24 hours, I think it really what it does is it sends a message of amateurish incompetence on the part of the incoming administration. Musk has no idea how to end it in 24 hours. Trump has no idea how to end it in 24 hours. The only way they can do that is if they can somehow persuade Zelensky to give up great chunks of Ukrainian territory to the, oh, well, that would end the war, yeah, because Russia would get what it wants. Well, if that's what the policy is going to be, then I think the Trump administration is going to run into some flack from its allies in NATO. It's already signaled that it doesn't care what NATO thinks, doesn't care what anybody thinks. But I mean, they're heading for a fall before they even take office. Because once you get into the details, nobody knows how they plan to carry out that policy.
Do you think Elon Musk's intervention or interference is being questioned? Because so far under the Democratic rule, there has been no statement made by the Democrats, by the former President of United States of America, Joe Biden, about the dismal economic performance of Canada. Although there has been statements being made on the Khalistani terrorism, talking about the Nijjar's death, talking about how India's alleged interference in the matter has been taken up by America, but never spoken about the economic downturn that Canada has been facing for decades together now. And if the numbers are to be believed, visuals on your screen, we just put out that graph once again. You know, since 2015, there has been a significant downturn which has been sustaining, say, from 2015 up until 2024.
Yes, look, the economic performance of the Trudeau government has been lackluster. The opposition, as you already heard, you played the clip of the leader of the opposition, is cashing in on that, and that they seem pretty confident. And the pollsters agree that if there were an election tomorrow, Trudeau would be history. You mentioned that the Khalistani episode, the drama, really a diplomatic fiasco with India that is ongoing. And I think that there's going to be a problem for the incoming administration there too with respect to Canada, because whether they like each other or not, and there's no question there's no love lost between the populist incoming president and the left-wing fashionable Canadian Prime Minister, the fact of the matter is they're in the same boat with respect to India and the allegation of misdeeds by the Indian government to include assassination plots in both the US and in Canada. The problem that I see is that although Indians often deny this, oh no, those are completely separate matters. The murder plot in New York against Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon, that's one thing totally separate from the murder plot against Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And it just isn't the case, because both indictments that have been leveled by the Americans make it absolutely clear that they're talking about the same plot against multiple targets, against Pannoon in New York and against Nijjar in British Columbia. Now, if there is to be a resolution of this impasse, of this affair, then it's got to involve all three governments. It's got to involve India and the US and Canada in somehow settling, okay, what are we going to do going forward? Obviously, the Indian government has not denied that a rogue operative, Vikram Yadav, may have been guilty of this plot. They've fired him, they've named him and shamed him, but haven't put him in jail or levied charges against him. The US has. But the situation is that you can't really go forward with this, expose national secrets, wiretapping policies in open court.
Okay.
You can't do that. So they're going to have to make a deal, is my point.
I'm also wanting to understand from you your opinion. You know, do you think Justin Trudeau is hiding behind the Khalistani narrative that he has led to the complete downturn of ties between India and Canada? This is simply a measure to divert attention from the serious economic fiasco he is the progenitor of.
No, I wish I thought that Trudeau was that calculating. That he had some grand strategy to distract people by ginning up this affair with India. No, I don't think that's his plan at all. I don't think he had much of a plan. If he had much of a plan, he would have acted more as the Americans did by discreetly accusing an employee of the Indian government, which is what the FBI did, rather than directly pointing the finger at Modi by saying the Indian government itself was involved in this murder plot. That leaves India no wiggle room, as it is with respect to the United States accusations. India can say, well, it was a rogue. We're not being accused. We regret to report, we're shocked to discover that there has been a rogue operation going on, and of course we disapprove of it, and such things won't happen again. We're a well-run intelligence services here in India.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
My point. Sorry to go on, but my point is that the three countries have to arrive at a way out of this. They can't. They don't. None of them want to shatter the alliance with India in the face of China. There are geostrategic imperatives which are far more important than who shot Hardeep Singh Nijjar. There will be trials, or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be swept under the rug. I'm suggesting the latter is more likely because of the geostrategic imperative, which requires a quiet resolution.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jerry, for giving us your opinion. Stay on with me. Ambassador Basuti Mukarji also on the telecast with me. Ambassador, do you think the Trump government is going to be more sympathetic to India's cause when it comes to the Khalistani extremism that is being fanned and propagated and propaganda machinery that is working in full stead under the Trudeau government?
I would like to tell my colleague from Ottawa that there is a big difference, as he himself has pointed out, between the manner in which the Canadians went about accusing the Indian government and the American position on this matter. Secondly, the Canadians at every stage, when asked to do so by India, always said that they have no hard evidence, they are going by intelligence reports. Whereas the Americans went ahead with an indictment. An indictment process, of which I am well informed, can go either way in a court of law. Because the American justice system is independent, fiercely independent, there is no way in which an indictment can be swept under the carpet. Nor will India accept, or the Americans accept, that this issue should be resolved trilaterally. It will never be resolved trilaterally because of the manner in which Prime Minister Trudeau has ham-handedly, as you yourself pointed out, in your intervention, ham-handedly, directly accused the Indian government rather than going about it the manner in which the Americans did. At no point of time has the Indian government said that it was a rogue operation. At no point of time did they say that the person in custody is a rogue operator. The matter is in the American court. The lawyers have been hired on both sides. It's an indictment process. It will play out the way indictment processes play out in countries where there is rule of law, like in United States and like in India. In Canada, on the other hand, the Canadian government has been deaf to all requests for extraditing known terrorists who have blown up, on one hand, the Kanishka, who have carried out extrajudicial killings of Indian citizens on Canadian soil and on third countries, and they have steadfastly refused to bring to justice despite hard evidence given by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police about one of the individuals who had brought down the Kanishka. Thirdly, I wanted to also point out that in my perspective, it is for the Canadians to vote out Trudeau. No third party, be it Elon Musk or anyone else, has the right to talk about the reasons to vote out Trudeau, but everybody, including India, has the right to point out that in their perspective, Trudeau's time has come. But just as the Americans voted in Trump with a thumping majority, where he won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College, despite all the negative media coverage about him, the same will happen for Trudeau's election. The Canadian people have to decide. Finally, Megha, I want to make the point that it is highly damaging in a television show being watched all over India to give the erroneous impression that India has ever accepted that that's a rogue operation. On the contrary, India has systematically pointed out that international law appears to be duplicitous and two-faced, one for the big boys who can go out and take out Osama bin Laden and other people because they are the big boys, they have the right to run the world as they want to, and the others, which are the smaller boys, they don't even have the right to get back convicted terrorists from Canada because they are yet too small to do that. When they become big boys, then they will be given the right to behave as the big boys do, exactly like it is in the American Wild West.
Okay. Professor Madan Nalapa, there has been a fresh threat that has been issued by terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, threatening to attack Ayodhya Ram Mandir. Do you think their silence within the American government, the administration, the State Department right now against this threat and inciting violence is deafening?
Megha, let me tell you that different governments have different policies. What Terry is saying, that the opposition party and Trudeau appear to have very similar policies on a number of issues, but I can tell you that's not the case with the Republican Party and the Democratic Party as presently constituted. So what their priorities are going to be, what their preferences are going to be, what President Trump's preferences are going to be, and whatever you say about Elon Musk, he's entitled to his opinion about any leader. I mean, we have expressed our opinions about Trudeau. I have, the ambassador has, Terry has, and quite bluntly so. So I think Elon Musk also has the perfect right to express his opinion. Whether Canadians will take him seriously or not, I don't know. But one thing I can tell you very clearly, Megha, Elon Musk is a very shrewd guy, and he went and backed Trump completely. And I think a part of the reason is he has finally begun to understand that by producing majorly his electric vehicles in China, the Chinese have taken the technology and they now become competitors to Tesla. So Elon Musk is looking for alternative markets, and the fact is India is a big alternative market. Now I'll give you examples of the lies that are being said by so-called credible mainstream media, not just about India, Prime Minister Modi, about Trump, that Trump was on the line with Putin multiple times. Yeah. The fact is the Kremlin has said, no, Trump was not on the line with Putin. That's a lie. And then that Trump said, you know, Taiwan, you know, I don't care about Taiwan. I'll negotiate with China. And even if they take away Taiwan, I don't mind. Look, Trump may say something at the spur of the moment. His policies are entirely different. He's a person who likes to tweet, and a tweet is normally spur of the moment. So I'd like to say, I'm not going to predict that the incoming government is going to take the same line on Panun. That has been taken by the Biden administration. I don't believe that is a valid inference. And as for Elon Musk, he's one of the key advisors around President Trump. He has wisely decided to stay out of the administration, because if he were in the administration, his fortune would shrink. Trump's fortunes have shrunk since when he took over the presidency. And I'm sure his fortunes are not going to improve at all now when he's got a second term. So Elon Musk is not going to make that mistake. But I'd only like to say, there's a well-oiled disinformation machine. And the exasperating thing is, they believe they're right all the time. I mean, people who think that India, and in fact the government has admitted, quote unquote, that we are there, a rogue state has been there. I mean, you know, these are absolute barefaced untruths.
Right.
I don't blame individuals for saying that, but there's a well-oiled disinformation machine that was very active against Donald Trump, that is very active against Trump, that was active against India, and remains active against India and Prime Minister Modi.
Okay.
And may I say one thing? Prime Minister Modi and Trump have a very close relationship, quite naturally unlike the relationship that India has had with Trudeau. When Trudeau came here, he got a taste of what we regarded about him.
Yeah.
He got a very unpleasant taste of that, and he went back probably even more determined to embarrass India with no proof. No, you know, you're talking about intel. I've
Yes.
seen a lot of intel. A lot of it is raw data, unfiltered data, unverified data, and 95% of it is proved to be wrong after verification.
Right, absolutely. You make a lot of sense, and you mentioned a lot of points over there that are interesting analysis of the situation. Dr. Sharat Kohli, let's completely understand from the point of view of the economic development or the lack of it in Canada ever since Trudeau came to power, and we take a look at Stephen Harper when he was the Prime Minister, the predecessor of Justin Trudeau, and there has been an alignment of the Canadian GDP per capita that has equaled America's, and it has risen steadily over the years till the time that Justin Trudeau took power from 2015. It has slid. And it could not recover even, from the 2020 fiasco, the pandemic that hit, it has not been able to recover even after that. In a situation such as this, people are perhaps not too interested, the average Canadian is not too interested in the kind of Khalistani narrative that is being built, anti-India narrative that is being built in Canada. They are primarily going to vote on the basis of the jobs they do not have, of the per capita GDP that they at this point of time falling short of. They're going to talk about the debt crisis. They're going to talk about the groceries that are at sky high, extremely high prices. They're going to talk about the house prices. These are the issues that are going to make the Canadians vote Justin Trudeau out of power.
Good evening, Megha, and good evening to my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. I think the Canadian economy is a natural outcome of Trudeau's policy over all these years. I think he's going to pay the price in the elections. And, I don't mind agreeing with Elon Musk on odd occasions. I've been not agreeing to everything that he says, but sometimes I don't mind agreeing to what he's saying because, and I mean, to that extent, I agree with Terry because I think the rest of the Canadian population, about 42 million people, they are going to probably decide, and I think the outcome is pretty much written on the wall. I really don't see any surprises in Canada happening because he's going to ultimately lose, the election. He's going to be voted out. Well, nothing in Canada as far on the economic front seems to be going right. You were talking of the GDP. The GDP is down. Per capita income is down. The most worrying aspect in the Canadian economy is the debt. You know, the household debt. It's really, really alarming. And you know, as you rightly said in your opening statement, that with the demand for rentals falling down, and students not being allowed to come in, newer policies coming in, and you know, to oppose India or against India or whatever, you know, in a hidden form, I think there's going to be a major crisis. Affordability of houses in Canada is going to be a challenge. Inflation is getting over the head, and I think practically everybody is complaining. Alienation of the western part of Canada, another issue. Heavily dependent Canadian economy on the natural resources, another issue. The fact that 70% of Canadian economy is dependent on services is another issue. So I think there's a bunch of problems which Trudeau faces. I'm surprised that how for a small group of people, I would call them small group of so-called Khalistani separatists, he's giving away his character. He's given away the diplomatic finis that he had in the beginning. I think he's suddenly lost his way, and he seems to be sold in the hands of the separatists. And you know, he probably thinks that is the best way to win elections. But I'm afraid it's too late, and I really don't think it's going to lead him anywhere, because people vote. People for a country like Canada, which is supposed to be developed, I think they vote on the economic policies. They vote about their own prosperity. They vote about what is their future looking like on the economic front. If none of these things can be seen going forward, I really don't think people are going to vote for Trudeau. So his days are numbered. Yeah. I mean, he can do these things here and there, but he knows it's not going to lead them anywhere. So he's making his last-ditch effort to see the worst of the best that he has done so far.
Okay, all right. I have with this Surendra Singh Lali as well, and Surendra Singh Lali, about the situation, about the Khalistani extremism and terrorism that has spread in every nook and cranny in Canada. You know, a last-ditch effort being made by Trudeau, but you know, who is he reaching out to, and who is buying this narrative that Trudeau has weaved?
Megha, I don't think anybody's buying, including Justin Trudeau himself. But on a note of levity, I don't think Elon Musk, it wasn't a eureka moment for me to learn that Justin Trudeau is going down the train. But what needs to be noted is how Trump, Donald Trump's granddaughter, went golfing with him. And he's now acquired the new uncle status. That's what she posted on Instagram. So that ought to give you an idea of the kind of influence, Elon Musk is going to have on this government. And God bless the United States of America, because, Elon Musk and Donald Trump with, I think, maybe 10, 20 bankruptcies, 7 bankruptcies underneath. So I'm not too sure the way this is going to head, because they're both basically disruptors, especially Donald Trump being one. Having said that, from what I feel, the way things are, Donald Trump is not going to leave this stake. He's going to come, and the ninja stick, he's going to, start use that as a tool. I don't think there is anybody more transactional than Donald Trump in this world, because he really shoots from the hip and he doesn't really think much. So he's going to use that as a tool with us to negotiate or maybe open some sectors that we were probably reluctant in opening up to. And I think we'll be still back to square one. It'll be America and Canada playing the good cop, bad cop. One's going to be showing the gun. The other one's going to say, you don't want to mess with him, like they show in the American movies. And once again, these are two businessmen who joined hands. And, sometimes I feel that everybody in the world should be allowed to vote, because these guys are too powerful. And now that they've started predicting, regime changes, and it's too bad. So next time I'm going to maybe put a suit somewhere and say I should be allowed to vote in the American elections, because their decisions can influence the entire world, especially now that in our part of the world where they all want to get in, and India's become the darling because they want India Pacific, and suddenly Bollywood and democracies and chicken tikka masala and Diwali at the White House. We even existed before 1991, before our economies had opened up. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to get my popcorns and sit back and watch the way these two Johnnies are going to control the strongest economy in the world. The only thing is that America still might be the biggest economy in the world, but their hegemony is up for revision. And it's that act of desperateness, I don't know. I hope Donald Trump doesn't do what Justin Trudeau did, because he doesn't have any political wisdom, so to speak. Thank you, Megha.
Also with me on the telecast is Adit Kapoor. Adit, how do we as Indians and the Indian government view the situation? Again, the question I ask is, with the Donald Trump administration, he has been elected, he is the president-elect. Is he going to be more sympathetic to India's cause when it comes to fighting Khalistani terrorism?
Well, I don't think he's going to be sympathetic, primarily because if you look at his 2019 and 2016 rallies, there was Pannu who was actually present in those rallies. So I don't particularly think that he's going to be sympathetic. At least he is not going to be hypocritical about it. He's going to be a straight shooter about it. That's the sort of key distinction I would like to draw between the Democrats, who basically used Canada to conduct and execute and engineer this sort of a hit job against India, because they wanted to go about their carrot and stick foreign policy with India. At the end of the day, the intel, it's quite evident that the intel was basically provided by one of the Five Eyes nations, which was the United States, which is not credible now, which, Trudeau himself has admitted that, he acted on credible intel. I mean, what is credible intelligence unless there is, something which is concrete? He's never provided anything which is concrete. I have immense respect for Terry, because of the work that he's done on the Air India bombings. But when it comes down to this particular Nijjar issue, who is Hardeep Singh Nijjar? He flouted every single law to gain Canadian citizenship. He faked his identity documents. He said that his testicles were basically electrocuted, which the Canadians themselves tested and said that, his testicles were absolutely fine. They were not electrocuted by any Indian agencies, etc., etc. So at the end of the day, the more you patronize, the more you pander to terrorists, extremists, thugs, and criminals of other societies, the more you sort of have criminals in your own backyard, they will become a cause of concern for your civil society. So the more Canadians, I think Canadians in general need to wake up to this, and they need to call out their polity, their bureaucracy, their law enforcement agencies, and ask them to control these nefarious elements, basically working within their countries.
Thus far, the Khalistani extremism, terrorism has not hit the average Canadian. Like I said, their clear focus is going to be, when they cast their vote, how is the economic situation of the country, and it is not good, it is dismal. And in the hope of change, they are going to bring back the Conservatives. Now, whether the Conservatives will be more proactive in supporting India and fighting out the Khalistani and weeding out the Khalistani extremism from their soil, it remains to be seen. Whether there is going to be support that is going to be shown by the Trump administration in helping India out and working with that and cooperating and bringing together Canada, America and India to resolve this Khalistani crisis and the secessionism that it spreads, subverting the democracy and the territorial integrity of India, is something that remains to be seen. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and on that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.